Tim Dooner, and this is FreightWaves Insiders. Step inside the tribe as our market experts share their boots-on-the-ground experience from the front lines of freight tech's emergence.
Welcome back to FreightWaves Insiders, coming to you live from the floor of, what is this called, Air Cargo 2020 in Nashville. Joining me today, Glenn Patton from Roanoke Insurance Group.
Thank you for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
What's up, Glenn?
Same old stuff, different day.
You're a rare commodity. You've been with the same company for like
22 years coming up. Yeah,
that's strange. And what? You're not a millennial?
No, I'm not. No, definitely not a millennial. No.
Yeah. So, what do you do over at Roanoke?
So, I'm in charge of business development. Work with our national sales management team, and basically, our job is to take care of our clients and make sure that they've got proper procedures in place and insurance, and insuring the freight and doing the bonds and the carnets or the carnets.
Yeah, if you go in with the truck, you'll hear all about carnets.
About carnets, yeah, exactly.
For those of you who don't, let's give them like a real 60-second elevator pitch on a carnet.
Yeah, that was Karen. That was it.
Oh, you don't.
No.
I'll do it then.
No,
so a carnet is what you use if you're going to an event like FreightWaves Live Toronto, and you got to go, or I think it might be called Freight 2020. I'm not sure. We have an event going on in Toronto, and we were asking her how we could get all this equipment over there, right?
Yep.
But we don't want to just import it and then have to export it and all that, or file NAFTA paperwork or any of that junk, right?
Yep.
You can go and get a carnet.
Yep.
Why would an insurance group have those, though? Why would that be a product offering?
So in terms of the carnets and that temporary import, if you would, so we do a lot of the rock bands, stuff like that.
Oh.
Equipment like this.
Chad's obsessed with that, my co-host on What the Truck. He kept talking about rock. He's like, rock bands must use these things.
Absolutely, they do, yeah. So, as they're on tour, they don't have to pay, as long as the goods go in and come out, everything comes out, you don't have to pay the customs duty. So the reason that we do it is, it's facilitating trade, and it's obviously a necessity. There's certain countries that have adapted carnets, so obviously not every country is doing it.
Yeah.
But, the U.S., Canada, China, Italy, countries like that.
Have you met any of these bands who are using these carnets? Is that one of the privileges?
I have. It's been fun. We do, we've had the Journey group, the current Journey, not the old Journey, if you would. And then we did the Stones. We always do the Stones and some other ones. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There's a documentary on Netflix about how they found like the new singer for Journey.
Yeah. He's was at a contest, right? Basically they had a little sing-off, if you would.
It's a South American guy, I think he was. Yeah, that guy can belt though.
He sounds just like Steve Perry.
He sure does, man. Steve Perry had.
You have to double take sometimes. Is that really Steve Perry?
I know. The movie, the Mark Wahlberg movie, Rockstar, is kind of like that, where they had to get the new replacement singer. Yeah. Exciting stuff. So beyond carnets, though, we've covered. We've had a bunch of carnets going on today. What else goes on with Roanoke Insurance Group? I mean, it's right in the name, but as you've already said, you do more than just insurance. You do carnets, but what kind of insurance do you guys provide?
Yeah, so we specialize in the transportation segment. So just dealing with logistics companies, freight forwarders, 3PLs, and the like, and insuring the primary cargo on an all-risk basis. Then we'll do the liability for the freight forwarders or the property brokers. They don't really have a liability, but they still have some exposure to an extent. So anything in logistics, we basically just will do any insurance-related product as it relates to transportation.
Wow. So, Glenn, we're gonna take a trip back in time. It's gonna be a little therapeutic now, right?
All right.
When you were a 16-year-old boy, is this where you thought you'd be in life?
No. Nobody plans to go into insurance.
Or logistics, right?
Or logistics. You somehow end up there, Ask your dad.
I was almost not born. My father was like in the seminary for a couple weeks.
Boy.
Yeah, I know. They kicked him out. No, I don't know if they kicked you out, Dad.
Yeah, no, insurance is, it's not the sexiest of things to do, but I enjoy what we do. I think that we, facilitating trade and helping out our partners, like the folks here at Air Cargo or at TIA or the NCBFA, the other associations, they've got a need, and that's what we do. We facilitate that need for them and help them out. Make sure that they can sleep at night.
And what is keeping people up at night at an event like Air Cargo 2020? What's a big concern that people have?
So the big one right now is definitely cyber.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the industry itself has reached the top 5% as the targets.
Yeah.
And the biggest one being what we call like more of a cyber crime. So somebody sends you an invoice or an email, and you got to look at the email addresses. If it's let's say it's Roanoke, right?
Yeah.
And it can say R and then an @ instead of the O, but it looks like Roanoke. You're not really paying attention to it.
Sure.
These guys are pretty slick about this now. And so you get an invoice, and I go, okay, yeah, pay, and boom, now you're out $140,000.
Yeah, you've executed the file. I get the one all the time that it says it's from like your boss, and he's like, go and buy a bunch of gift cards.
Exactly.
And I like
don't scratch it off and take a picture for me. Yeah.
I like to mess with them though. I'm like, all they got is Arby's gift cards and stuff like that, and just kind of waste their time.
Yep.
I guess who's winning there? Because I'm wasting my time too.
Yeah. So cyber is a big one right now, just because everything is done. Everything is done electronically now. Obviously, you've got a lot of the digital freight forwarders, like the Flexports of the world. So Roanoke, we're owned by Munich Re, which is the largest reinsurance company, and we report directly to the Munich Re syndicate in London. They participate in plug and play out in Silicon Valley.
What's the difference between like reinsurance and just insurance?
Reinsurance is insurance for insurance companies.
Okay.
So the
Even
insurance,
you guys need insurance.
Exactly. So we can only take so much on a loss.
Yeah.
At that point, if there's a major loss, then we have to tap into the reinsurance side to pick it up. And that's what Munich Re does a lot of.
When we hear like these nuclear verdicts against trucking companies and there's the $70 million, $50 million, like huge amounts, does that all come out of your pocket if you're the insurer?
Yeah, it will. We'll have to tap into the reinsurance side on those. And trust me, the nuclear claims, they're bad. We ourselves, unfortunately, had to pay $2 million on an auto claim. Unfortunately, somebody passed away. But yeah, it's scary right now. And it's definitely keeping us on our toes, trying to figure out how to properly underwrite it, how to price it properly. Insurance companies, we're not here to just give money. We're here to make money as well. So balancing that out is pretty tough right now, especially on the auto liability side, on the what we call the contingent auto side, which is for the property brokers and the freight forwarders. So as they hire a trucker, even though they're not moving the truck, they can still be brought into the lawsuit.
Are you insuring less parties now, or less risky parties, to protect yourself from some of those, or just costs going up? What is the real world impact on a company like Roanoke?
Yeah, so for us, we have to balance that out. So we have to look at loss ratios, which is basically how much premium is coming in and how much we pay in claims.
Yeah.
And so we try to keep a loss ratio under 50% is fantastic, but let's be realistic, that's not going to happen every time. Because whether it's a truck, whether it's ocean, piracy is a big thing still these days. We call it general average, if you would. Well, you know what a general average is.
I know even more now after my dad called me out on one of my shows. But fortunately, he called in and set the record straight.
Good for Jerry. I like it. But so it's a tough balancing act for us. And so we try to price it to the point that if we have one of those nuclear claims and things like that, that we're going to be able to pay the claim, but not sit there and say, okay, well now, Mr. Forwarder, you're done. We're going to cancel you out. So it's a balancing act. It's actuarial stuff. It's above my pay grade.
Yeah. So you guys are insuring the cargo, right? That is on these ships?
Yep, we do the cargo. Yep.
But you don't do you insure the actual vessel itself, or is it just the cargo?
So no, we don't do the vessel itself, just the cargo.
Yeah.
It's in the containers or in the aircraft or whatever on the truck. We just kind of stick to the cargo itself.
Is there something you guys hate insuring? Like, I know, like, whenever I've had, like, I've sold insurance and other policies when I've done freight, and you can sell the general policy on most stuff, but then if you have, like, a shipment of, like, glass balls or ornaments or something, you have to get a different aspect, or you have, what is it called, like an addendum to the policy?
Yeah, you have to get an endorsement to the policy part of being Lloyd's is cool because Lloyd's will insure anything.
Yeah.
Our syndicate actually insured Troy Polamalu's hair.
Wow. I like that you call it a syndicate, too. It makes it sound all
it's fancy, right? It's fancy. No, I think probably our biggest thing that we've had issues with are server racks, because these things, they just don't crate them properly. They're high-tech stuff, and they're hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so something goes wrong, and you're not going to be able to fix it. It's just a total loss. So that's probably one of the biggest commodities, I would say, that we say, okay, let's kind of look at it a little bit more. But we do pretty much anything. We've had some fun stuff. We actually, during the Iraqi elections, we insured the ballots.
Oh, okay. You going to do that on our elections?
No, I'm not going to do that. We were actually asked to insure the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
So my question was, how do you value that, and who's got the authority to actually say what the value of that is?
What was the answer?
He couldn't give it to me, so we didn't insure it. So I don't even know what to put on it. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you been to Lloyd's?
I have, yes. It's a pretty cool building. Lloyd's. People think of Lloyd's as an insurance company, but it's not an insurance company. It's a group of syndicates, right? So
syndicates.
Everybody's, major insurance companies, whether it's Munich, whether it's Aviva or Tokyo Marine, those are syndicates. They're in Lloyd's, and it's usually Lloyd's has been designated as one of those markets when tough to place type risks, things like that.
Yeah, Lloyd, didn't they endorse? Like Jennifer Lopez, she insured her butt,
Oh, yeah,
right?
they do the legs, they do the hair, they do all kind of weird stuff, yeah. So they get creative, trust me.
What is a policy like Troy Polamalu's hair? How do you value that? It's priceless, like the Declaration of Independence. So how did he end up getting a policy?
So that's based on his contract. I think it was during I forget the shampoo.
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah. So it's based on his contract. Should something happen, and so basically we're insuring his contract.
What is the weirdest thing that you guys have insured?
Oh man, gosh, we've done a lot of weird stuff. Whether it's we were asked to do the I don't know if I can say this on the podcast, but
you can say
Kentucky Derby horses. Okay, the lineage. So the semen. We were asked to insure the semen of a
the
Kentucky
genetic
Derby.
Material.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So that they could breed that horse, and we did it. It was interesting. We've done some weird stuff. Typically, you don't see that every day.
Yeah.
Mostly you're going to see the general freight, but there is that weird one-offs.
Well, how do you insure precious genetic material such as that?
Based on the value of the horse.
Okay.
Somehow they say, okay, the horse is worth X, Y, Z, and boom, go from there.
Now, you mentioned servers, and truckstop.com recently, they had an attack, and the thing that actually got hit was their own internal servers.
Right.
The stuff that was on AWS, on Amazon Web Services, was fine. And are you guys kind of seeing a sea change? Are you advising people differently on how to set up their IT backends? Because it used to be, it's more secure if we have our own servers and our own metal.
Right.
But now, and the cloud wasn't that secure, and now the school of thought has kind of switched.
Yeah, so our side, so we do a lot of cyber. We actually are here promoting cyber. We've got our head of cyber underwriting here with us. He's actually doing a panel right now. And so we've got a scorecard. So you can type in a web address and it'll say the segment is, transportation. And so we look at that and it just dives into the dark web and dives into everything. So we can go, okay, is this something that we want to do or not do?
Yeah.
But cyber is a whole different ballgame because, again, it's not so much the cost. It's not so much that you're going to pay something. You got the ransom side of it, but it's always the investigation costs are the biggest ones. And that's what people forget is that, I only want to take a $500,000 limit or something like that. Well, you can eat through that just in the investigation cost alone. Yeah. And then plus, if it's a full data breach, you've got all the government regulations that you have to notify every person that was potentially hacked or not hacked, that their information is out there. So the cyber policies today, they're constantly evolving. They're always looking at it and saying, what's the best thing? What can we do? And we work with our, for our cyber program, it's designed for logistics. So we kind of put in that cyber, I mentioned the fake checks, the fake invoices. So we kind of pick that up there and make sure that folks at the AFA or TIA or whatever, that, they're getting something that's not just off the shelf. Cyber type policies. So we got manuscript it.
So what does it cover though? So if I have a sort of a ransomware attack that shuts me down, is it covering any losses? Is it covering the cost of that ransom?
Yeah, so it can. The Bitcoin or whatever it is that they hold your data hostage, if you would, and you got to pay it. So we would pick that up. We also pay for, we have data breach coaches, and they come in and they help assist in making sure, what really happened in the system, how to get in, how do we prevent it down the way. The hardest part, like you mentioned with Truckstop, with the Amazon Web Services, the cloud.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame. How secure, if you think of all the hacks that have happened, even with Equifax or any bank, hospitals, it's scary right now.
Yeah, what is secure? And that especially as data becomes more important, we're talking more and more. And I imagine to you guys, in terms of mitigating risk, data has to be incredibly vital, right?
Oh, data's huge. Just even alone, everything, so whether, say, we deal with U.S. Customs a lot, and so all that data has to be transmitted. If anybody really wanted to mess with this, doing a cyber attack, that's a big issue that I think we're all have to kind of look at and protect ourselves as much as we can.
Do you think the risks are a lot greater than we're really aware of right now? And
I do.
Does that put you guys in a precarious position? Because obviously as our industry, thieves take more notice of it, criminals take more notice of it, the more at risk everybody becomes. Now that's a good thing for you guys in the sense of selling cyber policies, right?
Right.
But a bad thing in the sense of having to pay them out because more and more people become susceptible.
Yeah, we've been fortunate thus far in terms of not having a lot, but I could say that in the last 6 months, we've seen an increase in losses coming in where somebody's hacking the data, holding them hostage, holding the data hostage, and then having to pay the Bitcoin. So it is increasing, and it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. I mean, cyber is just one of those things. It's probably the hottest insurance topic in the industry right now.
What do you guys do to educate shippers about the importance of even things like Incoterms, which is probably more important than actually the value in your invoice is your Incoterm, especially if it is or isn't covering insurance, and then if you have a C term, what kind of insurance you're actually getting?
Yeah, so Incoterms, obviously, that's what, from the insurance standpoint, that dictates where our risk is, and who's on the hook for, is it the shipper's responsibility, is it the consignee's responsibility? Incoterms just changed this year again, Incoterms 2020. So they're constantly always looking at that, but that is something that's important to us because it does tell us when we're on the hook or not on the hook. And as far as educating, we try to do a lot of webinars, risk management webinars, things like that, where we partner up with some of the various associations like the NCBFAA, which is the National Customs Brokers Freight Forward Association. And so they get continuing education credit and things like that. So we try to do whatever we can. We have something we call Knowledge Port, which is kind of like an online tutorial that somebody can do on bonds, carnets, or cargo insurance. So our job is to not just sell insurance. Anybody can sell insurance. Here's your policy, here's my premium.
See, I told you, Dad.
We're more in tune to keeping up with the industry, keeping up with the government regulations, what's changing, what are the hot topics, and educating our customers on that, almost a quasi-risk manager type of thing.
Beyond the cyber stuff, what's another hot topic that people are really sort of like, ugh?
Well, I think the other one would be the contingent auto side of it right now. So auto liability, there's only a handful of insurance companies out there willing to write truckers now. So contingent auto...
Who can blame them either, right? I mean, you're seeing these verdicts.
Exactly, these nuclear cases, so the contingent is where the forwarder or the broker would come in and in case that they got sued, it would protect them for legal defense. The problem is these nuclear cases have turned it into, okay, you have a $2 million limit, pay me $2 million. Otherwise, I'm going to take you to court, and then you could be responsible for 10. So it is not, that market now is decreasing as well. And that's probably one of our big challenges, I would say.
Because we hear mostly about the ones that go to court, not necessarily the ones that are settled out of court. How many of these nuclear cases are settled out of court?
A lot. A lot, we had one, we paid about $2 million.
That's what our transportation attorneys tell us whenever we talk to them. They're like, the company has to have a real reason to think that they're going to win because it's very rare that a jury is going to rule in favor of a truck that crushed a family or got into any... I mean, they can be in situations like there was one that happened, I believe it was in Houston, where a car flew across the other side of the road and hit the truck. The truck was doing nothing wrong, and they still lost.
And they still lost, yep. You can never, once it goes to a jury, it's always about the deeper pockets, and that's what they look at. And it's just unfortunate because, really, how is that trucker responsible for that issue? He's not. It's not his, he didn't do anything wrong, but he's got the deep pockets, and they had to pay. You
guys even do travel insurance now?
We do have a travel division, so it's more for like cancel. So when you book a ticket and you can't make it, sort of like a cancellation type thing. Is what it is. Like
kind of like what you get through like American Express or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good stuff. I like those policies. So that's talking about going on a trip. Well, what about a trip to Mars or the moon? NASA is here today, right? We were talking to them earlier, and he was blowing my mind talking about how cargo in the previous Insiders. If you haven't listened, go back and listen to what NASA. It was fantastic. But he was talking about how there could be a commercial play where cargo is delivered from space back to terrestrial land. Are you guys involved in any of this sort of space insurance? Are you insuring anything up in the sky?
We actually do. Our syndicate has a space division where they'll do the satellites, whether it's from the launch or even satellites up in space. They're involved with the space station and covering stuff like that. So I think it was interesting hearing him this morning as a keynote and what he had to say. And I think at some point we're going to have to start looking at insurance. I don't know how Incoterms are going to come into space, but we'll figure that one out.
Incoterms, right? And maybe by Incoterms 2030, but they say
2030. Yeah, he said 2024 though. We're going on the moon.
It did sound like that this decade they're really going to accelerate things after last decade. I don't know, Lance Bass, 20 years ago, he bought his ticket on a spaceship, and I don't think he's been up yet.
No, I don't think he has either.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. He said that when they started the shuttle program, they were trying to do one a week, and they ended up doing, I think, 6 for the year.
Yeah, they're like, well, it was a goal, right?
Exactly.
It's like when you start going to the gym at the beginning of the year, and it just slowly tapers off.
Cancel your membership in February, join in January. Yeah.
So doing insurance, you kind of you shake anyone's hand because you can kind of work with anyone who's moving cargo, right?
Right.
So do you have any interesting stories from being out in the battlefield?
Yeah, I mean...
that are safe for radio?
Safe for radio. So I started in claims with Roanoke 22 years ago. So that was fun, getting to look at some of these claims. We had one that these were fancy chocolates going to the Ritz-Carlton, and there were ants on them when they got to the warehouse. We got to the point that we actually hired an entomologist to determine were those ants coming from the U.S. side or were they coming from France?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We determined that it was something that was over in France, not over here. So we covered the loss because it happened while it was in transit versus something that was happening after we were off the hook, when the transit stopped.
Do insurance companies have the best investigators?
We do. So we've got a great guy, Sam Wanawani, Captain Sam Wanawani. He's out of L.A. He's great. He's got ex-FBI, ex-police, things like that working for him. I've called the guy at midnight and said, hey, I just found out that a truck was stolen, and he gets the bolo out, so he's tied in with every law enforcement. We had a major, to get personal, we had a theft of some tablets that were going to Best Buy.
Yeah.
They weren't out in the market yet. And so that was over $1 million stolen. We started tracking it. We're going on eBay, and we're buying them, and we're matching the serial numbers, and we actually, unfortunately, it was definitely the mafia out in L.A.
Oh, so what do you do then? You're just like, all right.
Well, we were working with LAPD, and I remember sitting in the car across the street during surveillance while he was talking to the head of the mob.
Yeah.
Just like, but we have some fun. We do.
Well, the reason I think you guys must have the best investigators is I watch a lot of ID Discovery and true crime stuff, and on all the love affair ones, they always catch the husband when he kills the wife after she does a new insurance policy. It's probably the insurance investigators that are bringing these guys down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We years ago we used to insure yachts, and we actually had a gentleman that unfortunately he murdered his wife.
Oh wow!
For the
on the yacht.
So he tanked his boat, burned it, and then killed his wife. And we actually had one of our producers who wrote the policy. He had to actually testify in court and everything.
Wow.
Because it was an insurance fraud scheme, but they were proven that he's still in jail.
What other types of fraud? Now you got me intrigued. What other type of fraud happened in cargo?
So it's the box. Is there something in the box, or is there rocks in the box? That's a big one.
Fake returns and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because everybody knows a dirty secret in freight is that nobody likes returns. Return freight moves the slowest. It gets stuck in warehouses. It can be a long time before anybody looks in it. And at a certain point, if they don't check it a certain amount of time, isn't that kind of liability wash? Because I don't know, it's in the warehouse, we sent it.
In theory, it's supposed to, but it's hard to prove otherwise, right? So somebody tells us 45 days from now and they finally open the box, oh, it's damaged. Well, how do I know you didn't damage it in the warehouse? What's going on with that? But yeah, we got some people that unfortunately try to file a lot of fake claims.
Yeah.
But our investigators are very good at what they do.
Yeah. So people who want to protect themselves, find out more, where do they go, Glenn?
Well, you can go to our website, which is www.roanoketrade.com, and you can learn all about all the insurance products we offer and the carnets and the bonds and everything that sort.
You don't have any catchy 800 numbers she had 1-800
Roanoke. It's 1-800 Roanoke.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You didn't even know that?
No, good stuff. Hey, Glenn, thanks for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of Air Cargo 2020. If you want more, stay tuned for our next interview. It's going to be with Flexport, right? It's going to be a fireside chat with Susie Schoenberg. I think she's also a keynote here. That's going to be super exciting. Stay tuned to the live feed. Download the FreightWaves TV app. Subscribe to this on Freightcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are heard around the world. Catch you later.